As moon rises, the sun slips sight. Begins the ritual of this night. For those convinced their path is right. Gathered from north, south, east and west, yet called at another's behest, those treading the path that is left. From near and far, come as you are to this place, and embrace this space, as darker hue embraces you. Of water, spirit, earth and fire, confessing the sins of empire, we come with our wounds and desire. Sensing that we are not alone, drawn to the flame that guides us home, for here, you, me and yet to be. Importance and signs of these times, for the sake of all those maligned, is yet the home of the divine. Monday Tritone, yeah! Good evening. Hello, Bev. Hello, Sandra. Hello, John. Hello, Wayne. Hello, Tim. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Patrick. Anybody else? Have I missed anybody? Did I say Bev? Hello, Bev. Yes. Yeah, sorry, it's a very late one due to a circuit strategy working group. Yeah, we journey together and with God. So I just need to share this because I'm a bit shaky. So just before coming on, as it were, I spotted a message sent to Metal Methodist, which said, "Keep your homophobic religious shit off my timeline. Go away and take your imaginary friend with you." As far as I'm aware, I didn't post to this person's timeline because I'm not friends with them on Facebook. And it isn't a post that a video from last night that has been boosted. Yeah. So I don't know how that happened. I've tried to explain that. I understand. I did reply. I objected to the phrase homophobic because I admit that with all of us, due to unconscious bias, we can perhaps use language or things that are offensive. I've tried very hard not to do that. Certainly, hence the sort of tone-setting opening slides. However, if people do feel that there's stuff that I need to learn and improve in terms of creating an inclusive atmosphere here, I'm very happy to have that constructive feedback. Yeah, but then they said the homophobic stuff is in the Bible, which I completely understand how the Bible can be read. Certain passages of the Bible can be, and sadly have been, in my view, my personal view, sadly have been read in a way that supports actions that are homophobic. However, I think there are other ways of interpreting some of those passages, and there are other passages that, for me, are actually about the unbelievably broad, inclusive nature and love of God and a desire for relationship with each and every human being as made in the image of God, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, ability, sexuality. And that's the kind of God that I believe in, and that's the Bible that I try and read. So just want to say that. And if it's me personally that's caused offence, I do genuinely apologise. If people want to have a conversation about the way in which certain Bible passages have been, or from some perspectives could be read, and how that is perceived and felt in a homophobic way, I'm very happy to have that conversation, and would want to offer a different perspective, of which I own, and I'd offer that perspective as myself, okay? And also a perspective that I feel very able to own in my role as a minister of presbyter of public ministry in the Methodist Church of Great Britain. So there. Just wanted to say that, to apologise if anybody has been offended, and would appreciate constructive feedback and conversation. Always open for that. Anyway, so I hope that there has been something today that is life-giving and affirming and hope-filled. Sorry, I'm not laughing at the conversation about sexuality. I'm laughing that I don't feel very Tucson-tacky, and I'm about to ask you that I hope you've had a Tucson-tack moment from today. And this is why we do this, right? This is why, because each day is filled with stuff that's good, stuff that's not so good, yeah? For all of us. And sometimes, especially if you're like me, you can focus on the not so good stuff and get yourself in a bit of a tiz, which I did and have done. And I'm trying not to. Or to pray that through. So thank you for being a space where we can share honestly how things are, and how things affect us and how we deal with that and take responsibility for that. But also the reason for looking back is to say, well, actually, even in that stuff, it's not the whole story, is it? There are good things. And so I wonder what for you today has been something positive, hope-filled, that has affirmed you as a child of God, because that's what you are, made in God's image, a bearer of the divine image, regardless of what other people say about you, regardless of what other people have said they think it says about you in the Bible, regardless of your age, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, taste in music. You are a child of God. And as you look back from today, what are those moments that make you want to say not just once, but 1,000 times, thank you? And to say in Old Norse, Tusen tack! Maybe there have also been things today that are a bit pants. I invite us to reflect on that as well. Oh, thank you, Melissa Tusentak, for a lovely, affirming message from one of your church members. Fantastic. Saying thank you for the service you did on Sunday and asking how you are. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. That's encouraging, isn't it? And thank you for all that you are, as well as all that you do. From Patrick, cheese and tack for the person who felt they were in a safe space in Zoom church yesterday and was able to say so. Wow, that's cool. That's because I know for many people Zoom and being on camera. I know you don't have to use a camera on Zoom, but yeah, all this use of technology stuff is not the easiest thing for some of us, absolutely. But to create a safe space within that and for people to be able to name it as such, that's awesome. Thank you for enabling that, Patrick. Beautiful. Cheese and tack. Oh, thank you, Tim. I don't think so. I am a constant work in progress in terms of grace. That's not even getting anywhere near holiness. Oh, thank you. I'm going to cry again now. I won't. But I suppose so. Cheese and tack for me was being able to listen to some great music today. I heartily recommend to you the band Amulet. Again, sort of perhaps a vintage sound, but kind of lyrical theme, content, whatever, an image that focuses on the English Civil War. Historically, not a Christian band, but again, cracking music and historical perspective. So recommend that to you. So Juice Attack for Amulet and their music. And also, which I probably will go and play after this, some My Dying Bride, some Doom for when you just need to lament. Yeah, some Doom. And again, definitely not a Christian band, but again, very earthy, folky, very questioning band, and some very poetic, lyrical stuff. Again, good for lamenting to, or just giving expression to. And again, perspectives we might not agree with, but perspectives that actually sometimes it's good to hear and just see how life is and perspectives are for other people, maybe. Yeah, no, absolutely. Patrick, bless you. Yeah, it's awesome when it happens, isn't it? Yeah, that's amazing, and bless you again for all that you are and all that you do and how you do it, my friend. So yeah, but there's perhaps things today that have not been great. I think we know what I'm laying down. What is it that you need to turn away from? Just kind of say sorry for, at least perhaps even forgiving yourself. What are those things that are a lot to carry and you need to lay it down just for tonight? And what are those things that have hurt? What are those ways in which we perhaps need to acknowledge we've unintentionally maybe, but still caused hurt to others? And we can let go of it so we can sleep in peace tonight with Christ, who Christ alone makes us lie down in safety. So whatever it is for you tonight, let's lay it down and leave it at the foot of the cross. The principalities and will to power, the worms from within my own darkest hour. I confess all the regrets and the regrets, the burdens and fears, the lament and the tears. I lay them down. And Jesus, whoever we are, however far off we feel, comes to us, running out to meet us, arms open wide, saying, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." May that rest and that peace be yours this night. So a reading, this is one of my absolute favourite passages of the Bible. This is early on in the ministry of Jesus, Luke chapter 4. When Jesus came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as was his custom. He stood up to read. And the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was given to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Another word phrase for that is jubilee. So a time when all debts were cancelled, everything that was owed, things where the reset button was pressed, and to declare that is that time, this time for all people. And after he'd said that, he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. I love that. It's such a mic drop moment from Jesus. Yeah. There's your scroll. Boom. He rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of all in the synagogue were fixed on him. Then he began to say, this is the bit, people. Today, this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing. Right? What I love. If I suppose if the way of seeing Luke's gospel is as it's the gospel of liberation, perhaps because of this very reading, and liberation theology, which focuses so Latin America, a movement within Catholicism, although wasn't always well received within Catholicism. I know by the current Pope Francis. The liberation perspective has been well regarded and affirmed through him, but the whole thing is, liberation theology is about a God. This is God's creation. It's what Martin Atkins was saying to us. This is God's creation. God created it and named it good, all of it and all the people, everything else within it. Yeah. Now, yes, within that. Within our humanity, there are things that we do that are not good and that hurt each other. And sometimes, as we've thought about with Indigit and Black Lives Matter, sometimes the institutions that we create and the way we create them, intentionally or otherwise, feed into, maintain oppression and injustice. And liberation theology kind of highlights this passage particularly, and saying actually God in Jesus comes to challenge those and transform with love and redemption those systematic things, the societal systems that mean that there are poor people and that they are often excluded or marginalized, that people are oppressed, that are held captive. I mean, not just I think in a sort of prison sense, but in a sort of he's speaking to the Jewish people. They're occupied by the Roman Empire at the time, so the people who are oppressed and downtrodden and controlled by political and social systems, and to bring freedom to the oppressed, and to say reset button. It's all wiped away. Reset, start again. A chance for all people in all creation to be who we're intended to be, and to care for the planet and creation as a gift. So that's why I love this passage, because I love liberation theology. And it talks about the other thing that I love, which is realized eschatology. So eschatology is the discussion of, the talk of the end times, whatever they may look like or be like. But actually the idea that in the person of Jesus, the idea in Revelation, the idea of heaven coming to earth, no more dying, no more crying, God's home is amongst humanity, and that's kind of the vision of the future, the end times, the eschaton. But actually in the person of Jesus, the renewing of this earth and humanity from the inside out has begun. Hence Jesus saying, in your hearing this day, the prophecy has been fulfilled. So that those end times are becoming to be realized to the person of Jesus. And the most amazing thing is that through who we are and how we try and follow Jesus and live out some of that radical, countercultural, potentially uncomfortable, potentially not going to make you popular when you start criticizing societal and political systems and regimes, right? But that transformation, we're invited to be part of it. We are invited to be part of it and to be agents of that change. as disciples. Oh, and that thing of a kingdom, that vision that Jesus gives us of freedom for the oppressed, all of those things, life in all its fullness, the well-watered garden, all of that begins and is breaking in a present reality in the person of Jesus, and ever since, and one day will fully be. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It is the thing that I feel so deeply, deeply called to please God, for us all to kind of catch a glimpse of, and to realize our part within it, and just to do it and support each other through things like this, whatever it is, to support each other in playing our part of joining in with the mission of loving transformation and fulfillment that God is doing, despite us, but the gift of us and the privilege of us being invited to join in. So blah, 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 blah. So that's the reading from the Word in Time today on the Methodist Church website. And so in response to that, it seems fitting that the Methodist Way of Life question for this evening is, if that's the vision of a present and future reality from God through the person of Jesus, if that's begun, and it will only increase, and yet we still live in that in-between time of the now and not yet, of Jesus beginning it, or God in Jesus beginning it, and it being fully realized on earth as in heaven. In these in-between times, liminal times, what issues of injustice are you concerned about, and what are you, am I, together, individually, in our own little way, what are we doing about it? Or what are we doing in response? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Yes, absolutely, Tim. The Nazareth Manifesto. Boom. Yes. Yeah. Nail that one to your church doors. Oh, yeah. Love for All and Justice for All. Also a fantastic Metallica album. Thank you, Wayne. All right, so your local preacher's mentor used to say, if after your first sermon they don't try and kill you, you're doing it wrong. Yeah. Look where it ended up for Jesus, right? Yeah. Not meek and mild. It's not sugar and light. It's salt and light. Yes, adding flavor, drawing out the flavor, as I heard someone express it tonight. But also a little bit painful when you get it where there are painful things, and that's what we're called to be, following the example of Jesus. So thanks, Melissa. Realized eschatology makes you ponder what you love in a similar way. Okay, that'd be interesting to discuss more. So yeah, what issues of injustice just a virtual congregation have access to the theology siren? Oh, sorry, did I go a bit overboard? I do apologize. Totally went off the wad. Perhaps coming from church meetings in superintendent roles straight into doing this, I kind of yeah, sorry. Yeah, so yeah, what issues of injustice, the whole, let's talk about the Nazareth Manifesto, how we're trying to live it out. I'd love to find out what you think. Yes, you're right, actually. It's not the Theology Siren. It is now being rechristened. I shall read you the clip. The Theology Soren, in honor of Soren Kierkegaard. Siren Kierkegaard, Chocolate Fire Guard, I don't know, whatever. Not saying his theology is like Chocolate Fire Guard. I'm just saying it's a really cool name to have fun with, which probably isn't very nice. Sorry, Soren. Sorry, Lord. School meal vouchers. Yeah. Also a part of Realized Eschatology. That's something to very much love and appreciate. Amen. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about liberation theology. Let's talk about systematic change, Christians and politics, and issues of injustice, and how we can make a difference and be part of the transformation that is what began in Jesus, and that we are called to continue in a Jesus-like way. And what does that look like? And that's hard sometimes to know we're doing it in a Jesus-y way, isn't it? So yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. So please post your comments while we have some music from the parish newsletter. Tonight's sermon from the parish newsletter. For all who need healing, let's visit the man from Nazareth, the ultimate apothecary. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, sorry, Melissa, if I got hold of the wrong end of the stick. I apologise. Yeah, so the issue around free school meals you were highlighting is the injustice. Your daughter's primary school, which draws from one of the most deprived areas of Sheffield, has started their own food bank at school to help parents who are struggling. And that's on top of those who probably receive vouchers. And you've asked if there are ways we can help both individually and through churches. Yeah, and thank you for doing it as an individual and, in your role enabling churches to join in and be a prophetic voice offering practical need, but highlighting the fact that really, is this the world we want to live in and bring our children up in the 21st century? And one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm not aware of other schools doing it. So thanks for highlighting that. And I just wonder again, sorry, putting my circuit hat on here for a minute. I'm just wondering how, if that's the same for some of our other colleagues in other areas, and circuit-wise, individually through our Justice and Peace group. Is it something we can highlight both in a people are really struggling, our priorities in terms of the situation that means people are struggling, as well as actually practically, how can we help? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, being aware of your own privilege and using your agency to help, even in a small way. Yes, yeah. And somebody gave me this after Vicar School. It was a picture of a starfish, right? And it was just all about the apocryphal story of the guy, a little boy on the sea front as the tide was going out, and there's all these stranded starfish, and he's just there chucking one after the other back into the sea, and someone comes along and goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not going to save them all." And he's going, "No, but it made the world of difference to that starfish and that starfish." And just doing what we can and trusting that others maybe will join in and do their bit. And maybe that's how transformation happens. How do you eat an elephant bit by bit? I don't prescribe or advocate eating elephants, all right, people. But yeah, and let's just and and it's back to the feeding of the 5,000, whatever went on that mad picnic, right? Unintentional, unplanned picnic, whatever happened, whatever we want to define as a miracle in that, and our different perspectives on that. But the fact is that one person did and brought what they could, and everyone went, 5 loaves and 2 fish. Well, for a start, ain't going to feed the fish. So, and yet it gets blessed and transformed, and something amazing happens if we just do our bit. Yeah, amen. That's awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, the government has voted to cut universal credit. I wasn't aware of that, Rachel, and seems to be more concerned about protecting status than helping people who are poor. I can't understand why we still have statues of slave traders. Yeah, and there's another bit of legislation being brought in now that you can't go around tearing statues down without some sort of consultation first, which I kind of agree with. But yeah, that's but we're focusing on. I suppose the danger is that legislation as well. Do we end up talking about the statue rather than the actual fundamental point of justice, which is a reviewing of our own history as this nation and other nations, and also our involvement as the church with a capital C, and Christendom in very unjust systems, which I think were probably the things that Jesus came and went, that thing about oppression and the stuff that I've come to declare good news about and transformation about. Yeah, so what are you doing that for? Why have you been involved in that? Jesus comes back tomorrow and we go, yeah, right. So, slave trade. How are we going to justify that one? Dear me. But yeah, let's learn the lessons from history, and let's repent, and let's say sorry as humanity to other human beings made in God's image, where we need to. Starfish theology, yes, definitely. Thanks, Patrick. When we see injustice, it's easy to want to fix it. We can often see the obvious things to do, and so those things. Yeah. So we make it better rather than changing. I was going to say, so I did some coaching training, and they talked about like the map is not the terrain. What? But the idea being that what we see in front of us, we're looking for something on a map, and we focus on that and we head towards it. But what happens if the map actually isn't of the terrain? And it's a bit like that, isn't it? Maybe that. We see, and quite rightly, and we need to do those things to try and improve this situation, but perhaps there's a bigger, wider issue and some other stuff that needs to go alongside it, which is campaigning and to change the actual terrain rather than the map that's in front of us, or the symptoms. And maybe I still think, for me, it's that systemic stuff that I think for me, Jesus is talking about in that passage. I don't know. That's just me. Thanks, Gisela. Small shops and businesses are closed, but factory halls and many workers who can't keep the distance, are still open in Bremen. Wow. All right, so Bremen's got a factory for Mercedes-Benz. Lord, won't you buy me Mercedes-Benz? I'm a vicar who drives a Yaris. It's really bad round bends. Sorry. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I suppose so. The equivalent here, I don't know what the situation is now, but certainly during the first lockdown here, Gisela, lots of those, individual businesses were shut, and recognizing the impact on the owners of those business and the people employed there, and not to negate that at all, and yet there were, large production type places, sadly some of them linked to certainly people not being paid a proper wage, potentially even slave labor, potentially trafficking, that were still going until it kind of came to light. But again, we shut those down, or potentially we shut those down, but again, are we really dealing with the underlying issue of people being trafficked and paid a wage that is not enough to live on, so we can buy cheap fashion and throw it away and then make the planet suffer even more? So on slave traders, Patrick, thank you. Pleased to see that the Edward Colston has been moved from a prime spot in Bristol. Okay, but you think the story needs to be told? Yeah. It's all right taking it down. If we walk past a statue and don't really know that person's story, but maybe we need to know the full story. Again, how else do we learn the lessons of history and decide actually that isn't right, and that is something we never want to return to, and yet human trafficking, modern day slavery is a reality, and so perhaps we do need to hear the stories from the past, even if they make us uncomfortable, because that perhaps is the way we learn to act differently in the present, and please God, things are fundamentally different in the future. Jaguar Land Rover is still open, right? And people obviously nearby each other on conveyor belts and stuff. Yeah, interesting. Thanks. That hadn't really crossed my thought processes, and people working in those settings. Interesting. Just going, scrolling back up. Sorry, Pam, I hadn't forgotten you. How are you, Pam? Good to see you. So reflecting on why heavy metal music usually makes you feel aggressive, but you're drawn to the music that we play on here. Good point. I mean, so I suppose for me, growing up, I got into metal, perhaps like several people, but as a rebellion, and it was part of being a narky, hormone-ridden, grumpy teenager in my case. And finding your own identity and all those things, and the true spirit of rock and roll and all that it stands for. Rest in peace, Chuck Berry. And so I think early on, then some of the songs that were perhaps a bit angry or sounded a bit angry actually really spoke to me, because I was feeling angry inside, but I don't know why, because I'm a teenager. And yet, I suppose over time, that music has, I kind of like the anger and aggression in some metal, either because you can't be running to Metallica, especially Death Magnetic. Now, I know people might not like that album, but honestly, to get you around a 10K and still have a bit of more music to listen to while you're cooling down, Death Magnetic, and just like, yes, I'm going to pump it out, and I'm rah. It worked. And I remember Ralph Ward, who some of you may remember as the Christian artist called Zero Option. It was him and a keyboard, and when he went to his gigs, there really was zero option but listen to Ralph Ward, because it's him or nothing. but he was talking, he sort of work out and he'd play Motorhead. And somebody else was going, you're not supposed to listen to heavy metal as a Christian. And he went, well, no, but if you're gonna go work yourself out and push yourself and that music is the soundtrack to do it to people. And I suppose even now, and again, I suppose some of the music, which is why I for me personally, I'm very okay about listening to non-Christian metal, because I think sometimes the really angry stuff actually has a critique and a lament and a rah about society, even about church, or faith, or stuff that's done in the name of a god or a religion, that actually I ought to hear, and try and understand where someone's coming from. But yeah, other times actually it is a rant. It gets it out of your system. But also there's something for me, it cooks into a righteous thing. And I am the most unrighteous person ever, as you all know. But there's something. So for me, one of two of the greatest songs are "Killing in the Name of" by Rage Against the Machine and "Antivist" by Bring Me the Horizon. Now, I cannot quote any lyrics from either song because there are too many swears. Now, should a Christian, let alone a minister of religion, be listening to such stuff and putting money in the hand of people who go around using swears? However, for both songs, one is an absolute, for me, just tells it how it is for a generation. A millennial generation, and their experiences and their hurts and their anger and their passion and the stuff that matters to them, and their desire for change. And so I've got no problem listening to that, because I'm thinking, actually, this is prophetic. This is foretelling something to me about where you're coming from and a generation that's different to mine. So, okay, I get it. I'm listening to it. I'm like, yeah. In terms of the unjust stuff and all this, yes, right, not going to take it. Come on. So it does that for me. And then similarly with "Killing in the Name of," despite the swears, is another prophetic, anti-war, hand in glove, capitalist and dodgy political regime kind of reflection, in the same way we've spoken here about our government being amongst those governments that sell the armaments that we produce in this country to the Saudi regime, which go and drop it on Yemen at the same time as we're giving aid to Yemen. When I listen to that, go, yeah, whose name are you doing this in? Because I don't want it to be mine, and actually I want to protest. So I think some of that music, actually, in terms of what it does for sometimes, for some of the anger in it and some of the times, it either speaks to that feeling in me, or I put it on because actually, there's issues going on and I just want to go rah about it. It works for me. So yeah. And to be honest, the other thing is, regardless of all of that highfalutin kind of justification I tried to offer just then, I remember it was the first time I heard Machine Head. I went and bought their album, Burn My Eyes, and I put it on, and it must have been like the first time somebody heard Buddy Holly or saw Elvis gyrating, or heard Chuck Berry playing guitar like that, or even Robert Johnston, whoever it is. The first time that somebody does something and you go, what was that? Was it a pleasant listen? No, not necessarily, but put it on, and it was just the sheer immenseness of the sound and the power and the vocals and the guitar and the drums. Angry, angry. But yet something in the awesomeness of it did something spiritually to me, made me go, oh wow, something in me has just moved. I may not like the way it's just moved, but my goodness me. And it just does something. I I don't know, maybe I'm just a rubbish human being, an even worse Christian, but it just speaks to me of power and awe and it's transcendental for me. That's all I can describe it as. But yeah, I do take the point that actually there is some metal that I will use for certain activities. Like, I am going to get to the part of that washing up. I am going to tidy that room. I don't want to, but right. I'll fire myself up with it. Anyway, sorry. Sorry. There we are. Metal and justice in one go. And Justice for All sums it up. Thank you, Wayne. Metallica's most badly produced album. Where's the bass? Even on the reissue, still no bass. No. Anyway, cool. Thanks, Pamela. I'm glad you're all right. It's good to catch up. Oh yeah, Ralph Ward. Now the Reverend Ralph Ward. Ralph Ward, not Ralph Ward. No, Ralph Ward. What a legend! I'll tell you what. The number of Saturday, Friday evenings as a teenager, going to see him or Phil and John or other, and thank God for little chapels in various places who put people like that on, so that oiks like me had something better to do than hang around on street corners, but be taken by the church youth group. And I only went because I was hanging out with people who didn't bully me at school, right? So off I went and had a great time. I had somewhere to go and a place to belong. So thank you for your ministry, Ralph Ward, and for the churches what gave you a stage and a plug socket. Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. Yes, yeah. Whereas on here it should be, please stop him now. Stop him. Somebody stop him. Dear. Oh yes, Patrick. Yeah. Newham in Bristol has the story of how Wesley and the early Methodists challenged the slave trade. Oh, thank you. I should look at that. Okay. I'm not aware of that picture. Thank you. I should look at that afterwards. So I'm just, do you know, it's been a while since I've done a sort of Methodist heritage thing. Growing up in Retford, Epworth was really near, so went there quite a bit. And again, just for us, whatever generation we're in, if we are in the Methodist Church or in terms of our church history, whoever we are, to learn about some of those people who've gone before and what they've done and the issues they've faced again. And I get, because I suppose sometimes I feel that perhaps as each generation, we think the issues that we face are unique to us, or that we're the only ones bothered about it. And, because everybody in the past was doing slave trade and everyone's going, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Yes, we think the slave trade is really good. Well, no. It might have been a while before those voices got heard or people got around to that, a kind of a more caring Jesus way of thinking in terms of all people being made of God's image. Maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there. Sorry, I've gone off there one. The chance to kind of learn and be inspired by those who have gone before a little bit and encouraged. Again, it's that great cloud of witnesses. And I remember, so as those in ordained presbyteral ministry in the Methodist Church, we have a synod, and at that synod, the obituaries are read for presbyters who have died within our kind of local area. And I remember being at one where this person's obituary was read, and I've met this person only a couple of times. Again, one of those people I just think I could just sit and listen to you and just soak up the way you are, because there's something very Jesus-like about it. I don't know what it is, but there's just something. And it was read out that this guy completed his training as a local preacher whilst being behind bars because of being a conscientious objector and because of being involved in protests. Wow. This gentle little, gentleman, and yet, got this story, didn't shout about it, but you're like, wow, okay, wow, I'm really inspired by you. That's fantastic. Thank you. What have I done today? Not a lot in comparison, blimey. Thank you. Yeah, I think I've caught up. Have I? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, worshipful moments with non-Christian music. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think with the exceptions of maybe some Delirious and Why Friday, anything that isn't Christian metal. I mean, fine in a worship context in terms of communal singing, but yeah, it doesn't really do much for me. Matthew Forsyth, Matt's here. In which case, I know it's getting late, but it seems only right and proper just to take a moment. Evening, Matthew. Matt is the one and only. So at university, Chesney Hawkes came to play, right? One of the sort of like student nights in one of the in the Carlton in Morecambe Bay, home of Witch Hazel. And it was weird, right? Because he sang all this new stuff with his guitar and stuff. And like, right, get on with it. Come on, we've already booked you for the one and only. Well, the one and only comes on. He mimed it. Sorry, he didn't mind it. No, he did. And it turns out he hasn't got permission, he hasn't got the copyright. I don't know who wrote it. I assume he didn't, but yeah, for some sort of contractual thing, he had to mime to his biggest selling song and had to put his guitar down. What? Weird. That's all right, Matthew. Boo! That's 2 in 1 night for you. Yeah, so look, thank you for the discussion. That's really interesting, and yeah, I'm going to go away and do some more research about what's happening for the school thing and school setting up food banks because of people struggling. Yeah, no, you're right, Matt. If it gets, if Chesney comes across copyright issues, then heaven help the rest of us. That's all I can say. Well, that makes you dictionary corner then, Tim, if that is our very own Carol Vorderman. He's got the legs for it, apparently. Anyway, I think I got a hate message when I whoops. Sorry. Yeah, other stuff we want to pray. I think all the stuff we've talked about tonight is a form of prayer. But is there anything specific as well that we want to kind of mention for prayer? And just our final piece of music, because it is getting late. Before we do, I mentioned Morecambe, I mentioned Witch Hazel, that Hazel, so it'd be rude not to. So I give you this, which I think also speaks to the reading tonight in terms of the Nazareth Manifesto and liberation, a God of liberation theology, and a time of turning our shoutiness and all the things that we use to hurt each other, to throw them down, man.
you will die. Throw down your soul, surrender. Give them your life, or you will die. Throw down your soul, surrender. Give them your life, or you will die. Surrender.
It's awesome. This is stereo. It's like Tim and Wade. Oh dear. So Tim likes that Witch Hazel. That's Witch Hazel. That Witch Hazel song. What I have just played. That song by Witch Hazel. Oh dear Lord. So Tim helpfully points out. Wayne then points out helpfully which album it's from that album, and that album, people, is the Witch Hazel EP called The Truth. It's one of the two that's just been made available digitally because all the sort of hard copies went eons ago, but it's now, as of this week, available at witchhazel.bandcamp.com. The EP with Throw Down Your Sword is called The Truth, and the demo, which contains a different version of that song called Surrender, that demo is called Surrender, and that's the one where Colin plays and sings everything. So two very different versions of that song, but it is rather good. Yeah, off to go. So let's pray. Thanks for sharing, people. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nigel. Amen. Praying for the US over the next couple of days. Yeah. Yep. And definitely prayers for O at 7 months old, having an operation tomorrow, and for her parents, absolutely, for just all being well, and for peace and strength and a sense of just God in it with them. Yeah. Yeah, amen. Fam, for those in despair and not knowing where to turn. Yeah. For the families that are struggling, as well as Melissa shared. Yeah. And thanks, Gisela. For the situation on the border of Guatemala, the people from Honduras wanting to cross to reach the USA. Yeah. And again, I guess 4 years ago, some of those issues were at the forefront, and it's all quietened down. It's all dropped off, certainly over here in the UK, off of our media, I guess, in terms of the continuing tensions and what people are going through. So thanks for just sharing that again, Gisela, and just reminding us. So yeah, absolutely pray for peace, for respect and dignity, for humanity in responses from the borders that we put up. He said, praying from a country where we're putting up borders post-Brexit. Yep, you can disagree with me on Brexit. I'm not, but I just think, again, just another example of so easy to focus on what divides us, literally. But thanks for sharing that, and amen. Thank you, Gisela. Jeanette, how are you? Hope you're all right. And all at Metal House 1. Absolutely prayers for Metal House in Sweden and their ministry, and just pray into the situation and that area where you are kind of needing that breakthrough. and just claiming the fact that we have a God who makes a way, and just that way will be clear, and things will open. And that sense of God going with you and before you, as well as within you. Yeah, amen. Thanks, Jeanette, and love and prayers to you all, and bless you for all that you are and all that you're doing, and above all, for all the metal. Yeah. So look, people, it's really late. I'm sorry. So let's just offer all of our prayers, plus the ones that we haven't shared and the ones we can't even put into words, knowing that we have a God who hears us and knows us better than we know ourselves, hears us before we even name what it is. And so we can pray in confidence. To the one in whom all people and all creation have their being, may your kingdom come, your will be done, as above, so below. Sustain us for this day. Show us grace as we seek to show grace to those we feel have wronged us. Save us from the worst that is within us and within this world. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. And now, the notice of from the parish newsletter. Yeah, parishuk.bandcamp.com. So, notices. We have a very special guest back at the usual time at 7 o'clock tomorrow here on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter. So, looking forward to conversation tomorrow. And again, some of the situations and that global perspective that we've kind of spoken about and shared this evening. That will be a very helpful conversation to follow on from that, and also to think about all that we can do. Cryptic clue. All that we can do to be part of that continuing kingdom building, kingdom of justice and peace, the thing that began to be, Jesus said, in your hearing today, this prophecy is being fulfilled. And our role in continuing and joining in with God's work begun in Jesus and entrusted to ordinary people like you and me. What a privilege. And we support each other in it. So please do, if you can, hang out at 7 tomorrow. That would be awesome to share together. And I think that's it. So blisters and others, let us sway. Sway for me metal Compline. Sway with me metal Compline.